Unlocking your genius within. Stay tuned. Damon here from NLP Gym. NLP techniques, the fourth perceptual position, or unlocking your genius within. If you haven't already, please click subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get these videos on a regular basis. So if you've done any NLP training at the very base level, and you'll learn this in practitioner training, is the perceptual positions: first position, second position, and third position. It's easy to remember because it's very much like a story or a narrative. You have one of three ways of telling a story, different types of narrators. You have first position, where it's the main character in the story who is telling their own story about what's happening. And then there's second position, which is somebody who's not the main character in the story, but they're a character in the story nonetheless. And they could be any character in the story, and they're telling the story from their perspective about the hero of the story. Then there's the third position, which is sort of like the third person omniscient. It's somebody who's not in the story, not a character in the story, who is telling the story from an objective perspective. We use perceptual positions in NLP to gain understanding and wisdom, and even to overcome obstacles and conflicts, and also to model people. So what you can do is you can go second position with someone who you admire, someone who maybe you've never even met before, a historical figure, to get an understanding of what perspective they were coming from, and to hopefully get a feeling of what they embodied. So first position would be me standing here, looking through my own eyes, hearing through my own ears, experiencing everything around me as I'm standing here. And if I had a memory that I went first position in, that means I would be in that memory as if I were experiencing it as it was happening, rather than stepping back and watching myself in the memory like watching a movie of myself. First position would be in the movie. I'm in there watching things from my perspective. Second position is when, say, for the camera that I'm talking to, is if I took the perspective of the camera and imagined myself standing there looking back at myself, then I'd be taking second position with the camera. But normally we don't do that with objects, which you can. Judy Delosier, one of my mentors, likes to go second position with rocks and trees and that sort of thing. But you normally think of it as doing second position with another person. That could be second position with a person you're having a conflict with. So you drop into their body and you look back at yourself from their perspective, and suddenly you have a new perspective. You have more wisdom, you have new information here. And then you can go third position, which means you'd be a neutral observer, like a fly on the wall, observing your interaction with the other person, and then you gain information there. And then you would take information from all these perceptual positions and take it back to your first position and upgrade the information there. Now there's a fourth position. Now some people don't agree with that though. There are some NLP trainers that think that it's nonsense. I like the fourth position, and I'll explain why in a minute after I explain what the fourth position is. There is something called systemic NLP, and it's where you treat everything as a system. I'm a system. This relationship I have with this camera right now is another system, so we're two systems that make up one system. If you're interacting with someone, that person is a system, I'm a system. Our interaction becomes a bigger system. The space in between becomes another system that holds us. And if you add any more people, those are more systems, and then we could include them as one big system. The fourth position is the system itself. It's all the parts of the system. It's all the systems within the greater system. So you can take the perspective of being your first position, the second position, and the third position, which is the neutral position. The fourth position is all three of those. I like to think of it as the space between all of them, and the space within and the space without that holds all that. This cultivates genius when you're able to take in information from these different perspectives. And it takes some practice, it takes some working with this to fully understand that. It's hard to really explain, especially fourth position is a very difficult one to actually explain. It's better to experience it. You can also use this to, I like to use it because before I got into NLP, I was really into non-duality. And non-duality takes the approach that you are the awareness of everything, you're not the thing. So you're not your body, you're not your mind, you are the awareness of your mind and your body. And therefore you're kind of all one with everything in that sense. I like to think of fourth position as very much like that. And if you're dealing with, say, negative feelings, or you're dealing with really intense feelings that are hard to manage, think of yourself as not being a person who's managing these difficult feelings. Think of yourself as the space in which these feelings are coming up. And that will give you some extra space to sort of manage the feelings. You don't want to block the feelings out. You don't want to ignore them. You don't want to pretend they don't exist. Take the perspective of you are the space in which the feelings are coming or arising in and falling away in. And you'll be amazed that instantly you feel like you can breathe. You can feel more at ease with it. So see what happens when you think of yourself as the space in between everything. See what happens when you think of being the space in between your relationships, or the space that's holding those relationships. And sometimes we talk about that in NLP as being holding the space for someone. So it's like you're not necessarily interacting or guiding them or telling them what to do, but you're providing the space in which they can do what they need to do, facilitate their transformation or overcoming whatever it is they're dealing with. And sometimes it just takes being there for someone and holding that space and not really saying anything at all. And that's what we refer to as holding the space. So think of becoming like space. And that makes it much easier to take on the fourth position and to be all the components of a system. Now, not every trainer will explain it that way. That's just the way that I like to think of it. If that doesn't work for you, that's fine. Use another metaphor that does work for you. Check out our website, nlp-gym.com. If you haven't already, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, please click subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook so you can get real-time updates on upcoming practices and trainings that are coming up, like Core Transformation. That'll be here in beautiful Santa Cruz, September 16th, 17th, and 18th, taught by Mark Andreas, son of NLP legends Steve and Connie Ray Andreas. Also, stay tuned to the end of this video. You'll see where you can have the opportunity to get your hands on a free online sensory acuity training, which is a core foundational skill in NLP, kind of was what makes everything in NLP possible when you're working with other people and when you're working on yourself. Take care.